So yeah, this is kind of a lightning round thing. So we're all kind of going between two places tonight. But it's good to be here with all of y'all. I appreciate you all coming, and good to have the representative out here tonight. But my name's Glenn Cowan, running for Harris County Sheriff. I met recently retired 5 years ago. You said lieutenant with the Sheriff's Department. Y'all give him a hand clap for his service. And then how many of y'all are former military veterans? Can y'all see y'all's hand? Give them a big round of applause. Thank you for your service. God bless y'all. So I've been with the Houston Police for 16 years. I am a sergeant and a former hostage negotiator. I'm also a former jail supervisor. I worked with the Kirk County Sheriff's Department. That's out in Kerrville, in case you're wondering. That's God's country. Great place to live. But it's hard for a young family to make a living out there, but it's pretty. I'm also getting my PhD in criminal justice, and I started that before I ever got the wild, crazy idea to run for office. I don't know, I lost my mind. I don't know what I was thinking. But I do it because I love what I do. I love criminal justice. I love the profession. I love the people. It's got some of the best people you'd ever want to meet. They're all service-minded, oriented, just like the military. They're people that want to engage their community and help and serve in any way possible, and they take a tremendous toll. Speaking to that, what happened back in 2016, as y'all know, Ferguson, Missouri. Anybody remember Ferguson? Yeah.
Yes.
What happened is that, I'm a police officer, and we saw what happened on the television. Of course, it's hard to get the true story, timeline of the events. But Darren Wilson, Ferguson officer that went and responded to the scene, he gets there. He handles, basically, long story short, he handled the scene the way he was supposed to. Eric Holder's DOJ went back and investigated. I've talked with FBI investigators that were on the scene out there. Long story short, all the stories, all of the testimony, so-called witness testimony that this officer murdered Michael Brown was all fabricated, every last bit of it. Even some bullet holes that people said that, that's one of the bullet holes that he shot, and come to find out when they recovered the bullets, they were from years ago, because it's a high crime area, right? So the worst thing that could have happened was that Officer Darren Wilson decided to go to work that day, and probably wish he had. Now his life is ruined because of a narrative, because of an ideology that is trying to set itself in the country. I saw what happened to him, and it reverberated onto us in our profession. It happened to me, it happened to all the other officers, and as I promoted, I'm dealing with the aftermath, the backlash, the pressure against all of these officers in our profession. And I began to see that what we do for a living, I saw officers not wanting to be proactive anymore. I saw them, that fire that they had inside of them to stop crime in their communities. I saw them reacting out of fear. As you know, it didn't stop with Ferguson. It was countless other encounters that false narratives were painted and pushed against law enforcement. So that's what fueled the whole bail reform nonsense and everything else. And now here we are, and it's transformed the way we do law enforcement in the United States. I'm not going to say that there hasn't been historic abuses. Okay, we all know there has been, but it went way too far in making an ideology the new way of the way we do law enforcement. I wanted to do something different. Harris County, the crime is just through the roof. And I saw what bail reform, the lie of bail reform, what that was doing to our communities. And it's like I talked with Bill Bratton, the former commissioner of the New York Police Department. I called him, I talked with him, and I said, I'm running for sheriff, and I said, if I win, what advice would you give me? And he said, Glenn, you and I both know what works. He says, you're going to have the guts to go do it. And you and I both know that bail reform doesn't work. He said, some people may have meant well. Not everybody was, with ill intent. He says, but you and I both know that doesn't work either. And so that's the attitude I want to take into the Sheriff's Department, and that's the reason why I'm running. I'm trying to get some of that fervor back into our law enforcement. Our men and women of law enforcement are just demoralized. Whether it's, I work for HPD, whether it's the county department, where all across America, we have men and women that want to serve, They want to make a difference in their communities, but they're not allowed to do it. And I want to raise up and be that leader to let them know, look, I've got your back. I'm going to be your friend, professionally. I've got your back. I'm going to be there to lead the way for you. And we're going to rewrite the narrative of law enforcement in Harris County. Right now they're starting to do the body cameras and everything else. And we were told whenever we started with the body cameras, they said, oh, don't worry. We're not going to use this to mess with y'all. We're just using it to make sure that people that you encounter are telling the truth. Not only was it a lie, it was a damned lie. Okay, to quote, I've heard that before. So yeah, they're weaponizing the body cameras against officers. Officers are getting days off for frivolous offenses, for even offending people on Facebook. If you get offended by something that an officer says on Facebook, that officer will face discipline, guaranteed. It's out of control. And so in all my years of experience, I've come to learn and realize that I had a skill set that was needed in the sheriff's race. I looked for someone that I could get behind. I'm not knocking all the other gentlemen. Paul's here tonight, Paul Day. He and I are friends. We've actually had breakfast together, but I felt like I had that special skill set that I could lend to the race. And so we prayed about it, and like I said, got the crazy idea to run. But look, you and I all know, and some of you might not realize, we don't have enough Republicans in Harris County, unfortunately, to win a race. We have to be able to reach out to those independent voters and the moderate Democrats, if we can get even just a couple of them, to really make a dent. So anytime you see a Republican win, it's because some independent said, I like that candidate. I feel like I am that kind of candidate that they'll lean towards. The independent voters are looking for a new generation of candidates. That's what we're seeing all across the nation. It's come up in terms of age, experience, and I believe that with all the characteristics I have, with the academic background, I think that independents will lean our way. I was recently endorsed by the Houston Chronicle. Dozens of Republicans were impressed by that. I mean, dozens and dozens of Republicans were impressed by that. None of you in here read the Chronicle, but the reason why I bring it up is because independents and Democrats do read it. It represents their readership. And the funny thing about it was that the Chronicle even made mention of the fact that I'm an ordained minister, which I was surprised. They felt that I had the qualities that I had as an ordained minister, as a former hostage negotiator, that I could be firm but fair, that I could be decisive and be a good alternative to what we have right now in the Sheriff's Department. They weren't so gracious with Ed, but that's another story. I won't get into that. But so that's my pitch. That's why I'm running, and I know we're short on time tonight. So is there any questions that anybody would like to ask? Yes, sir.
Do you think the 2020 presidential election was legitimate?
No. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's asking me if I thought 2020 was legitimate, and no. Yeah, well, we could go on all night, but no, that wasn't. She was next. Go ahead, ma'am.
This is the same 3 questions I'm going to ask of every candidate. To me, I need to know what your administrative experience is. How many people you actually supervised, controlled, made the decisions to hire or fire? 2, I want to know the largest fiscal budget that you've ever handled. 3, I want to know how much is in your campaign funds, because it is going to take somebody who has a phenomenal ability to raise money, to have ads on TV. And I just want to thank you for running. I think you are very personable, very charming. But would you please answer those 3 questions?
Yeah, so administratively, the largest budget I ever managed, I'll be honest, about $1,000. I mean, I've never managed $1 million budget. Never been in that level of command. In terms of, I'm sorry, what was it?
Number of people you managed.
Yeah, number of people I've managed. At one time, I managed probably about 150, 200 people. That's when I worked with UPS. And then, what was the next one? I'm sorry.
And the law enforcement, what's the largest number you managed?
In law enforcement? In law enforcement, I have a squad, I would say about 6 people. 6 people in my squad, but when in the command center, I managed, it was about 30 officers in the command center.
Are you head of the command center?
Not now, I did a stint in the command center, now I'm a patrol supervisor,
Okay.
patrol sergeant.
All right, my question is then, how much money have you raised to run today?
Yeah, so total, I think the last we looked was about $60,000 total since I announced. We got about 20,000 in the account, so yeah, there you are. But those are good questions, right? Because you want a candidate that's gonna have
It's gonna cost millions for ads.
Yeah, it's gonna be millions. I mean, going into November, I mean, they're gonna come at you with both fists, right? Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am, good questions, absolutely.
We're looking at some particular challenges here in Harris County because we're so close to the border and we have so many illegals here. And we don't have, I mean, what can you do when you arrest somebody and you don't have somebody that will prosecute? It looks to me like the new law that just came into, I guess it's law now, but there's people trying to stop that allows you to arrest somebody that has come into the country illegally and they have the choice of deporting that day or going to jail. And if they come back again, then it's a longer jail term.
Right.
That's automatic without having to go through the DA, or do you handle, I'm making this question long, I'm just looking at all of the challenges that we have. What can the sheriff do to keep the law when the DA does not?
Yeah, I get it, because it's a multifaceted question. So Governor Abbott finally signed off on the bill making it illegal to be in our state illegally, so we can enforce their state law. Now, whether or not the Harris County DA is going to cooperate with that, I don't know. There's a good possibility that Sean Tier could replace Kim Ogg. If y'all haven't heard of Sean Tier, he makes Kim Ogg look like a Republican. I'll just put it to you that way. He's bad. Not bad, but you know what I mean, left. So yeah, there are things that we can do. I will work with the U.S. Attorney General's office to apply any federal charges that I can, because basically they're breaking federal law if they're here illegally. So that's what we'll go that route. You had the 287G program. There's suspicion that I've got to get that approved through Commissioner's Court. I don't know that for certain, but I will definitely get that applied if I can. And so, yeah, we can definitely, and I will uphold and enforce those laws, by the way. Okay? Ms. Deborah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say to you, thank you very much for admitting the fact, or acknowledging the fact, that you have to have someone else, another group of people vote for you other than Republicans, including Republicans.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not going to win in Harris County.
Right.
And one of the things that I want you to know is that there are a lot of Democrats that don't like Ed Gonzalez.
Right.
And when I talk to, people talk to me, because somebody called me and they said, hey, do you know that tall guy? I'm like, what tall guy? And they said, the tall guy that's running for sheriff. And I said, oh yeah, Mr. Cowan, yeah, I know him. And she said, is he worth anything? And I said, actually he is.
Okay.
And she said, because girl, you know we sick of Ed Gonzalez. And I said, well, I tell you what, just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. I just want you to know, I like the way, I've always liked your vibe. I'll call it your vibe. You can tell good people. Nobody has to walk up and say, I'm a Christian and I can pray. If you're a Christian and you can pray, you can see somebody that they can pray. And I just want to say that I am so, don't rush me.
Deborah, in fairness, get to a question. You can use that for your rant, but get to a question.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Whatever.
George, you may not have been the best enforcer on that one.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm under the understanding that Houston and Harris County is a sanctuary city.
Yeah.
And I want to know what you plan on doing to deal with the immigrants that are coming in and people that, we can't do anything about because it's a sanctuary city.
Right.
What are you going to change?
Yeah. So anybody that we can come across that's breaking the law, traffic stop or whatever, if they're here illegally, I'm going to take them into custody. That's not going to make me popular with some people, but I'm going to enforce the law. In terms of, I've asked some people, well, would you go out and help round up people? Here's the problem. You've only got 2,000 patrol deputies right now. This gentleman back here says it's probably less than that now. We got about 2,000 patrol deputies servicing an area of 2 million people. That's North Harris County unincorporated. It's projected to grow to over 6 million in the next 17 years. 80% of the growth is happening in those same areas. I unviewed an accident the other day, nobody was injured, thank God, but they were still in the middle of the road, debris, double airbag deployment. It took an hour for a deputy to arrive. They said, we don't have anybody to send you. So I stood there managing the scene, making sure nobody got hit. The 2 men were rattled sitting in the grass. So until we get more deputies, there's going to be, I'm going to be honest with you, there's limited resources of what we can do. But if we come across them, yes, we're going to process them. Absolutely. And if we can ever get our numbers up, I'll send them to the border to go help out with that crisis also.
One last question.
One last question, Mr. Cowan, is in regards to, do you know how many people are staffing, and if they do have a human trafficking unit, and what you might do to help beef that up, because we are the center of that, and we need to start doing more.
Yeah. So we are unfortunately, if y'all didn't know, Harris County, Houston Harris County is the #1 human trafficking and transnational crime trafficking hub of the United States. Just found out, actually, Deborah, with Paul Day's campaign, said the other night, not to steal your stat, Paul, I'm sorry, but she asked, they've got, I believe, what was it? They like 24 or more people in internal affairs, and they have 2 deputies in human trafficking division. 2.
It's 245 in internal affairs.
How many?
245.
245. I missed it by quite a bit. Yeah, and two officers in the human trafficking division. So y'all can see where this is what I'm talking about. Like with the internal affairs, they really beat that up to hammer the deputies, but you've only got 2 in human trafficking. It's terrible.
You can put that on your card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's give this.
Thank you guys.